Life Management Science Labs would like to acknowledge that we live and produce this podcast on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of our listeners and our international colleagues. We'd like to pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Hi, and welcome to Self-Improvement Atlas, the Personal Science Insights podcast produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. We are champions of life management science, providing structured insights informed by science and inspired by practice on key aspects of conscious living. Each week, we bring you scientific and practical insights on each element with the expert knowledge of professionals in the field. I'm Marie Stella, your host from Melbourne, Australia. Let's start the show. Welcome back to Self-Improvement Atlas, the Personal Science Insights podcast. In our fast and busy lives, it's almost too easy to let stress go unmanaged. So today we're getting some expert advice from journaling coach Carol Brennan. Having journaled for over 20 years, incorporating this practice into your life and business, Carol now coaches some of the busiest people on earth, women entrepreneurs, to journal to manage their stress and well-being. Hi, Carol. Thank you for coming on the show.
Bye.
Now, I know it's really early where you are, so thank you for joining us at that hour. And before we get started, I'm really curious to know, how would you describe your journaling ethos?
I guess one of the things I use a lot is like what's called the inner mentor. So this is like yourself in 5 years' time. So I do a dialogue with that. I guess I believe that you work out for yourself what you need in terms of journaling, and every person will have a different journaling practice. So I guess it all comes down to what's best for you. It's a person-centered approach.
Yeah, for sure. And that sounds like it, in it of itself, deciding what your approach to journalism is requires a lot of self-reflection and self-awareness too. So that's really interesting. And it's a great preface to our topic for today. But before we get further into detail, we'd like to get to know you better. So this is Have You Met Carol Brennan? And my first question for you is, what do you like to do in your spare time?
Well, I have a cockatiel called Sunny. He's in Scotland just now. I'm in Spain. And I like to play with him. I live at the beach, so I like walking along the beach every day. I like traveling, so I'm here in Spain for 7 weeks.
Yeah, that's really nice. So do you ever bring out your cockatiel for a walk?
No.
Is that, well, I heard that that's something that people do. I'm not sure if it's like specific, like I don't think it's specifically with cockatiels, but I've seen people bring their birds out for walks. Is there something that you ever considered doing? Or is your cockatiel just like, no, not allowed outside because they would fly away or injure themselves?
Well, you can get like backpacks with a clear thing.
Yeah, like with cats.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can get harnesses, but it gets easily spooked. So probably not.
Yeah, probably for the best if he gets easily spooked. Now, my next question for you is, do you have a favorite genre of books?
Well, I do read quite a lot of fiction. And my favorite book is Evening Class by Mae Binchy. It's about Italian class that go on a study trip to Spain. So I enjoyed that. probably my all-time favourite book. But in terms of like journaling books, it would be Writing Through Transitions by Leah Francisco. And that includes a lot of journaling prompts, and I'm currently going through that for the third time.
That sounds great, and it must take a lot of the weight or thinking out of journaling when you have a book to refer to that provides you with some prompts. So that sounds fantastic. Now, my next question for you is: do you watch any films or TV shows?
Well, I don't actually have a television because because in the UK you have to pay a license fee, and during the lockdown it was all about the Prime Minister Boris Johnson at the time, and I just didn't want to watch it.
Right.
So
interesting. So you just don't watch television or movies at all?
Well, I do watch movies sometimes. Yeah. Every Christmas, me and my dad usually watch a Christmas movie, so we rotate between It's a Wonderful Life. What's that one called? That's Groundhog Day, and a few others, yeah.
And are there any Christmas movies that stand out to you in particular that have just stayed with you in your heart?
I quite like Scrooge. That was about what's his name? Can't remember the actor, but it was about a corporate executive that has a kind of sort of 80s take on A Christmas Carol.
And what about it stood out to you?
I guess it was just the change that he goes under through the ghosts visiting him.
Right. There's a lot of self-reflection and development there. Completely. Thank you for answering that. And our last question for you is: who do you look up to the most in either your professional or your personal life?
Well, I do have a coach called Jo Bendel, and I look up to her because she always shares about having the self-doubt but doing it anyway. So that inspires me because sometimes I do have quite a lot of self-doubt.
Yeah, completely. And it sounds great that you have someone to look up to and someone to kind of almost drill this into you, because oftentimes, we all have moments of self-doubt, and that often can be paralyzing almost, and just kind of like forbidding you to do something that you really want to do. So it's amazing that you have someone to help you with that. And now we're moving on to the interview section. And our first question for you is: how would you define personal development?
Well, I would say it's working on yourself through practices like journaling to become the person that you've always meant to be, really. So, yeah.
And what is your definition of journaling, and how do you think it contributes to personal development?
I guess it's writing for well-being, any kind of writing for your well-being. How I think it contributes to your personal development is, like, for example, if you're feeling down, you can write about it and feel better. So that's you becoming the person that you're always meant to be.
And are there different techniques or types of journaling that might be particularly effective for various types of stress, like work-related stress versus relationship stress, or general life stress, or familial stress?
Well, I work a lot with entrepreneurs, so in terms of that, like writing lists is quite good because that gets it out of your head. Like there's what's called a brain dump where you just take everything that's in your head and write it down. Another technique that's quite good is called scripting, where you write about the future as if it's already happened. So you can write about say you were going to a meeting, an outcome for that meeting and what happens. So that can be quite good. Another technique I like is dialoguing with emotions. So, or dialoguing, I do a dialogue with your business as well. So those kind of things can be quite useful.
Yeah. And can you explain to us how that act of dumping all of your brain's thoughts onto a piece of paper or something material, can you explain how that act manages to alleviate the stress?
Well, when you're carrying something around in your head, it's taking up room. So if you're thinking, oh, I need to remember to email that person tomorrow, and you go to bed worrying about it, then you might not get a good night's sleep. But if you do a brain dump before and just put all of that down, then that clears your head.
It sounds pretty similar to when you have a bunch of things going on the next day, a really busy day or something like that, and you have, this whole piece of paper or like a whole list of how your day is going to be, how your day is going to pan out, and that just like how that will help to clear your head a bit, and being able to see all of that on paper and knowing that you don't have to worry about forgetting anything in that same way will alleviate the stress. So that makes a lot of sense. But what are some of the challenges that people often encounter when first starting to journal?
One of the things is that they might not go too deeply and they might stay on the surface level. Like I had one client who just like journaled for about 5 seconds and then said, I'm done. But it's like getting beyond that surface level. Another is not knowing what to write. And getting stuck in your head about it. So those are some of the challenges.
Yeah. And what can be done to overcome these challenges, especially with not being able to go beyond surface level? Particularly also because entrepreneurs, people who have really busy schedules, they might find it hard to dedicate more than like 2 minutes or something like that. And in those 2 minutes, it's a lot of pressure to dig into your brain past surface level. So what advice do you have for that?
Well, what you can do is ask the question again. And I do like to sometimes give people prompts of, I don't want to write, I do want to write. So those are some of the ways that you can get past that.
Interesting. And apart from traditional journaling, like pen to paper, what we've been talking about, are there any other types of journaling that people could explore?
Well, there's things like mind maps, and that gets it. If you're if you're not like kind of a natural journaler, then that can get you from your head onto paper. And if it's not like kind of rational thought, like a linear thoughts, you can do like I do like art journaling and bullet journaling. So bullet journaling is a more sort of organizational thing, and you take the time to do like artwork in it. There's gratitude journals, and if you really don't like to journal, you can record your thoughts. So in like an audio journal.
Yeah, I've heard that people do, like, apart from audio journaling, something that people like to do would be video diaries, just switching the camera on and rambling. It's almost like you're talking to a friend. And that might be easier for people who aren't natural writers. But with creative ruts, you know, with like just writer's block stuff, do you have any remedies for that?
Well, I think the main thing is just to sit down and just keep on going with it. I mean, it doesn't really matter with journaling the quality of what you write. It's not for anybody else to see. So just even if you write, I don't know what to write over and over again, at least that gets you writing.
Yeah.
And then eventually like more stuff will flow. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just imagining right now, as you say, like, you know, I don't know what to write, just write it over and over again. Just imagining that can make for a really nice piece of artwork. Like, that might sound pretentious and pompous a bit, but I think that would be pretty cool. But is there a recommended time frame or frequency for journaling practices?
Well, I don't as I said in the beginning, it's just up to the individual, but obviously like anything else, the more you do it, the kind of more benefit you get from it. There are practices like Julia Cameron says in the morning pages, which introduces a lot of people to journaling. These are 3 pages of stream of consciousness journaling. So she has rules like you do it every day, but I think like just little and often. Yeah, just do it when you feel like it. Yeah.
And at what frequency and to what caliber do your clients journal, just out of curiosity?
Well, most of them do like a 5-minute practice a day, yeah. Every day. So I think it's better to do a little more often than a big session. Because that's quite difficult to fit into your life.
Right. And I suppose having little sessions daily and or more often would help with developing that habit as well. And so could you share some examples of journaling prompts that our listeners could use?
Well, a good one is, what is my next small right step? That's good if you've got a lot of stuff in your head and you don't know what to write. A one I like is, if my feelings were a weather report, they would say, because that kind of, or my internal weather report is, what did I learn today? That can be useful at the end of the day, to reflect.
Internal, sorry. Please go on.
And another one I like is, if you're having a difficult situation, when did I handle a similar situation and well, and what did I do?
Yeah, that all sounds really introspective. I love the idea of the internal weather reports. Makes it sound a bit more cute, which I know isn't necessary, but it makes people feel a bit more fun when journaling. It makes it feel nice and fun and cute and just like a little game. You are being your own internal weatherman. And I don't know if anyone ever has had the dream of being a weather person, but it sounds fun. But are there any known long-term benefits of incorporating journaling into one's lifestyle for mental health and overall well-being?
Yeah, there was a researcher called James W. Pennybaker, and he did a study of people journaling over 3 or 4 days, just writing down their feelings, and they actually had fewer doctor's visits than people. It can lower blood pressure, and it does have um, it does mark significantly reduce anxiety, stress, and depression. Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible.
Mhm.
And in your professional experience, have there been any success stories or examples of individuals or your clients that you could share with us who have experienced this significant stress reduction from consistent journaling?
Well, I had one client who, in her own words, she described herself as being in a boom or bust um, cycle where she just went all out and then was exhausted. And through the journaling, she developed a strategy to do a mastermind because she was booked out with on one-to-one clients, and that really gave her some space. I had another client who became more accountable and hired a VA to help her. Another client was going through a difficult year. She had a bereavement and she was procrastinating a lot. So she was a meditation teacher, and she went into the community and did meditation. And she had a lot of quality time for herself in a difficult year. So actually journaling with me gives them the space to do, gives them that quality time.
Yeah, that's amazing. Are there any resources or tools that can guide someone in their journaling journey?
Um, well, for general journaling, there's the International Association of Journal Writers. They have a lot of resources. For business women, there's obviously myself and my stuff. There's books like I mentioned Julia Cameron has books specifically for writers, like Write for Life is one where you do a writing project and The Sound of Paper. I do like Writing Through Transitions by Leah Francisco. Yeah, and I also have a YouTube channel with over 70 guided journaling videos, so that can be quite useful as well.
Amazing. Finally, what advice would you offer to someone who may be struggling to find the time or motivation to maintain a regular journaling practice for stress management?
Um, well, just think of the time saved. It's not, you don't have to journal for a long time or hours and hours. If you only can do a few sentences, do that. Just start where you're at and go from there. I think, like, the time saved by, it's not just the time you might be more productive, but the time you save through worrying, anxiety can be quite a lot. Yeah.
Sure, because when you are worrying and being anxious, you spend a lot of time in your own head without even realizing it sometimes. I know I do that for hours and hours on end, so journaling would definitely do me some good. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now we're going on to the practices and habits section. And our first question for you is, what is a journaling habit that you recommend beginners to practice?
Well, just like 5 minutes a day, really. Like, just writing about how do I feel today, at the end of the day can really help you, to just download your thoughts and can round off the day as well.
Yeah.
And you'll get to know like more prompts to ask yourself as you go along.
Yeah. And what are the biggest challenges when it comes to trying to start these 5 minutes a day of journaling?
Well, the thing, my stomach's trembling. The I guess it would be that you don't do it consistently, but if you miss one day, you just get back on it the next day.
Right. And do you think that it's important to set up a specific time to do it?
Personally, I don't think so. I mean, I mentioned like Julia Cameron saying in the morning, but I think it can be good because you have things like habit stacking, where you make it a habit and put on something else with it. So that can be good. It's really what works for you, as I said again.
And how do you think this practice would impact someone's perception in life?
Well, I guess it would increase self-awareness and self-reflectiveness, and maybe give them more of a direction to where they're going, rather than just aimlessly going through things.
For sure. And based on your experience, do you have any other recommendations of practice to be combined with this one that you've just shared with us, the 5 minutes a day, in order to improve the journaling practice as a whole?
Well, I think doing a brain dump at the end, and also gratitude lists can be good if you've had a bad day and you really want to like reframe things. And also like combining journaling with things like meditation and walking and that kind of thing. Yeah.
And what is an example of combining journaling with walking and meditation?
Well, for example, one exercise that I do is the future self exercise. So where you imagine what your future self would say to you. So you would go into yourself and have a conversation with your future self in your head, and then write it down through a visualization. You would have a conversation with your future self and then write it down.
That sounds really interesting, and that's got to take a lot of self-awareness, and it feels almost like an out-of-body experience, having to like kind of split yourself into two and imagine what your future self would be like and what your future self would say, which probably, like, for some people, like, it doesn't have to be to the extreme of imagining yourself 50 years from now,
Right.
as a grandparent or anything like that. But regardless, it sounds like really difficult task. So what advice do you have for that?
Well, I think it's quite good to put on a tape, or you don't use tapes anymore, like an audio file.
Well,
Showing my age.
we could easily, well, maybe not easily, but we could find a tape recorder somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah, so just going through and just letting what comes up come up, because very often you get a lot of surprises that you wouldn't have had. Like when I was talking about that client before with the boom and bust thing, like that idea, about the mastermind just came to her. So it's like it allows the unconscious mind to come up.
Yeah, I'm just imagining, I'm just putting myself in the shoes of, well, myself or really anyone doing this future self exercise right now. And I, like, even just within this 2 minutes, which may not be enough, but I don't know. I just feel like I'm realizing that I don't know myself as well as I thought, just from that 2 minutes of just imagining myself in that situation. So that sounds incredibly interesting. So thank you for sharing that with us. Now we're moving on to the open mic section, and this is your chance to talk about anything that you're passionate about, and it doesn't have to be related to the topic, but if it is, that's fine. The floor is yours. Take it away.
Well, one of the things that I really love to do is the inner mentor dialogue. So that's like we were just talking about yourself in the future, and I find that a lot of different things come up there. And like people say to me, oh, I think I'm making it up. But what I say is, well, of course you're making it up, but it's coming from your creative side. So, yeah, and
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So with your own future self exercises, what is the most surprising thing that you've realized that you don't mind sharing on the podcast, of course?
Trying to think. I guess I've had a lot of self-assurance and different advice about different specific situations. Like things have just sort of clicked into place after a while. Like, for example, this time last year, I was on a scripting retreat, which is like writing about your future as if it's already happened. And I got an idea to go back to my writing because I hadn't done that for a while. So I'm in the process of doing that just now. So things like that, just ideas that maybe weren't in your conscious mind can come up.
Yeah, that's fantastic to hear. So is this something, the future self exercise, is this something that you think everyone would be able to do, or are there some people who would be better at practicing this?
Well, I think it is something that everybody can do because like the future self has been through it and knows what to do. So, and it's just accessing that creative left brain. But maybe if you weren't if that's like too out there for you, you just start with the how do I feel today? And there are lots of different techniques. Like if you're more creative, there's something called an alpha poem, which is where you write the letters of a word down the side, and you like say it was calm, so you'd write creating calm moments just now, and then you would write the E, accepting life, and then the L and the M. So you can do things like that. There's lots of different techniques in a book that gives you lots of different techniques. It's called Journal to the Self by Kathleen Adams.
All right. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I learned so much about how beneficial journaling can be on our stress and our well-being, and how it just manages to take all of that clutter in our brains out and onto a page or something material. So that's been fascinating to learn, especially the future self exercise, which I've never heard of before. And we've had a few of these journaling episodes by now. So that was incredibly interesting to me. And thank you so much for joining us today. If our listeners want to find out more about you and what you do, where can they go?
Well, I'm quite active on LinkedIn, so that's a good place, and my website. And I also have a free journal for business women, so it's a stress reduction journal, and I'll give you the link to that.
Excellent. We will link those in the show notes below. We'll also be linking the journal, the resources, the books mentioned in our show notes, so you can go check it out and connect with Carol as well. So thank you everyone for tuning in. We hope you learned a bit about journaling for stress management, and hopefully you will be able to pick it up sooner or later. We'll catch you in the next episode.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Self-Improvement Atlas, the Personal Science Insights podcast produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. For more episodes like this from 10 different life management perspectives, search LMSL on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts, so you can get updated on everything we have to offer. We have a wide range of topics readily available for you to check out. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider rating our show, sharing it, and subscribing to our channel, as it helps us grow and bring you more quality resources. More of our work can be found on our website at pe.lmsl.net, where you can join our movement. I'm Marie Stella. Thanks for tuning in.